Shalom, Yashrala. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakudash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. A salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I wanted to jump into this here topic real quick that we kind of briefly touched on at camp over the weekend, But it's, it's a beautiful thing to see this, these things start to come to pass, and we pretty much know the outcome of all these things, all right? These are these prophecies being fulfilled, all right? Real quick, let me grab a precept before I even jump into this. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it shall surely come, it will not tarry." All right, so it's talking about, it says the vision is yet for an appointed time. All right, that's basically the definition of a prophecy, man. All right, a prophecy is you basically seeing, or more or less the prophets would see, the Lord would give them something, a vision, more or less to say, or they would give them a dream or something like that to give them pretty much a vision of the future, what will happen, and they would write it down. All right, and as the way things played out, for instance, let me think, like the book of Revelations, the mark of the beast, right? When John wrote that, the mark of the beast wasn't, they didn't have RFID chips at that point in time, all right? So again, this was something that was written in the future, all right? But now it's starting to come to pass now, all right? So that was that vision that he saw before then. Hey, he saw Babylon the Great. He saw America, but that was a vision, all right? That was a prophecy that he saw. It was something that hadn't quite happened yet, all right? But it was a far off coming, all right? So it says for the vision is yet for an appointed time. These prophecies is yet for an appointed time, man. So people, I was speaking to somebody beforehand, and ultimately we understand, because we can discern spirits. You know what I'm saying? It's basically they coming up with all kind of excuses. Why this isn't the truth, or why this isn't important. Well, how do you know they've been talking about the mark of the beast forever? Well, how do you know that this is it, and how you know it's not that? And even if you break it down, going into the definitions, things like that, to where, and you see the technology today, you're like, well, they never had this technology beforehand. All right. They never, going into the incisions and things put up under your skin and everything like that, and being able to buy and sell, a big monetary system, a big tracking system. They never had anything like that where they implemented it inside of your skin. All right. And so going into the definitions, yeah, we know these things. This is what it is, but, people will be like, oh, they're looking at it like, well, how you know that that's what that's talking about, man? All right. So it says Habakkuk 2 and 3, it says, for the visions yet for an appointed time. All right. So these things, these things are set to come to pass, but it's for a certain time, all right? Or another one, wars and rumors of wars. We've always had wars, yeah. You've never had it pretty much like this. We have something that they call a world war, all right? There's always been wars on the earth, but then you had things called like world wars, where it's basically, a lot of different countries was at war with one another. They had two different sides. Actually, one of them, they had, I think, like a third side as well, too. But nevertheless, you pretty much had two big major factions going at it with each other, with multiple countries involved, all right? So you didn't really have anything like that happen in the earth before then, all right? So this is how we know that these are what they're talking about, the global uprising around the world, commotions and perplexity of the nations, all these different things, So we understand that these prophecies, all right, yeah, you may see certain things happen here and there, whatever, whatnot, but ultimately these things are for an appointed time. And so now we're starting to see these things. Let me keep reading. Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. And that's where we at now. We at the end, and we seeing all these prophecies starting to speak. They're all taking place now. It's not nothing that we're saying now like, oh, well, you just got to have faith, and then one day you'll probably see it. If if you live long enough, you probably see it, or if it's not in your lifetime, you may not see it, but just have faith on it. I mean, we're pretty much in a time now to where it's like, as we've been already speaking about these things, but nevertheless, you know what I'm saying, is damn near we speaking these things and they coming to pass as we speak them. You know what I'm saying? So this is the time now where these visions, these prophecies are actually speaking, man. All right, you actually seeing them coming to pass at this point in time. All right, so it says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Again, going back to the RFID chip. Oh, how we know that that's the mark of the beast? They've always said this and that. They said it was the barcode, and hey, man, it's speaking and it's not gonna lie, man. You're going into these definitions and you do your due diligence. All right. Like the scripture say, blessed he that readeth, and with all that get understanding. You just reading these here words, a mark or whatever, whatnot, but you're not actually going into these words. This is how we know. Plus, the scriptures say that the Lord gave these here prophecies unto his servants, the 144,000. All right, the Lord will do nothing but reveal his secrets unto the servants, the prophets. All right, and those servants, they was going to go out and they was going to preach. All right, and there was going to be no guile found in their mouth. So basically, and you have an unction to know all things. So there's people that's going to be out there that's telling you exactly what it is, what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? At least, the Lord come back, and then you're like, well, Lord, that ain't fair. We didn't know that this was going on or whatever, whatnot, because you had all these different people talking this and that. Nah, man. The Lord's like, well, yeah, you had all these other people out there. There's going to be many antichrists coming, people that's against the Lord's will and everything like that. But look, there's actually the men of the Lord out there telling you these things coming to pass, man. And how much more beautiful is it in this point in time when you actually seeing these things coming to pass, man? All right, so let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy chapter, where I want to start, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 6. All right, verse 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. All right, so let's go find out who that number one enemy is. All right, we could have got Psalms 83, but this is Ezekiel 35 and 5. It says, because let me go up to the top. This is Ezekiel 35 and this is Ezekiel 35 and 2. It says, son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. All right, so Mount Seir, really, now this is all talking about the same people, Mount Seir, just like how the Most High says Mount Zion when he's talking about the Israelites. All right, so down here it says they reference Idumea, and I'm just briefly going through these things just to make some clarifications. All right. So here again, let me read this verse. Ezekiel 35 and 15 is, thou did rejoice over the inheritance of the house of Israel because it was desolate. So will I do unto thee, that thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea. All right. So Mount Seir and Idumea are the same people, right? So let's go into find out who Idumea is. All right. Well, shit, it said it right there, Edom, right? And so the definition of Idumea is Edom, all right, or Edomite. All right, or the descendants of Esau. All right, so this is talking about the Edomites. All right, so let's go back up to Ezekiel 35 and 5. It says, so this is talking to the Edomites, the so-called white man, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time of their iniquity had an end. So our enemies that the Lord is going to put these here curses upon. All right, Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies. All right, and the chief enemy is who? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. All right, and that's the number one person who did that was Esau, Edom. So let's go and find out about some of these here curses. All right, this is Deuteronomy 28, and I want to say 54. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. Now, these are the curses that befell the Israelites, all right? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. These are the curses that you're still under, but slowly but surely, like we just read in Deuteronomy 30 and 7, the Lord is taking the curses up off of the children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and putting it on to our enemies, all right? Chiefly the so-called white man who is Esau, Edom, according to the scriptures, all right? So this is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 54. These are the curses that's befallen Esau, Edom, all right? Deuteronomy 28 and 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. And let me just stop there. All right. So look, this explains the hatred between the tribes. All right. So once you find out who the 12 tribes of Israel are and what they're being called today, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Somebody who maybe grew up around these people, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the different tribes, because not all Jake grew up around all the other tribes. But nevertheless, like, for instance, where I live at here in Florida. All right. I went to school with Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans. We had a couple Ephraimites, which are the so-called Puerto Ricans, all right? And then we had the Levites, who are the so-called Haitians, all right? Now, in this here mix, all right, when we was at school, you would never dare, I'm going to use the carnal names, the names that they give us today. You would never mix up a so-called Puerto Rican with a so-called Mexican. If you see some so-called Puerto Ricans over there, like, oh, those Mexicans over there, man. They get super offended, like, oh, we ain't no Mexican, fuck that, blah, 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 so on and so forth, Or likewise, you see a so-called Haitian or a so-called, or just called a so-called black man, a so-called Haitian, man, they get offended by these things, all right? Because why? This is the hatred that, these are the curses that came upon us, which is one of the curses being the hatred between our brethren, man. And not only that, you see, how come you always have, like, when you look at the tribes, man, they be like, oh, well, because we always talk about how Esau is a goddamn murderer and killer and whatever, whatnot. But he be destroying all the other people on the face of the earth, man. You know, he be putting in work on his own people. You know, World War I, World War II. You know, the Civil War, all the shit that was going to the war that they did back in Europe with each other. But nevertheless, you know, and also back in Rome and things like that. But nevertheless, you know, they also go to war with all the other people on the face of the earth. Look at the Middle East right now. He bombing Ishmael, like, you know, to hell and back, man. All right, he's also putting in work on the Israelites. But nevertheless, when you get into, you know, just like any other nation, for the most part, besides Esau, the number one victim of your crime is going to be your own people, all right? The most people who do, like, how do I say, violent crimes against other people, they do it to the people that's closest to them, all right? Except for, like, Edomites. Edomites will get into a car, and they'll drive 4 or 5 hours to go kill somebody of a different tribe or something like that, different nation. You know, we had a case like that where I think it was out in California or maybe in Texas where this Edomite drove some hours away to go to a Walmart to kill some Issacharites, all right? Like, bro, you know, Jake not gonna do that, bro. Jake probably won't even drive 20 minutes down the damn street. Look at California, man. All right, a lot of those gangs and shit like that is literally like a regular city block. You got one neighborhood and then a whole other gang and they rivals or whatever, whatnot, you know? And they might just catch their ops slipping here or there, whatever, whatnot. But they're not gonna necessarily, they might not even go drive 2 blocks over there to go get your ass like that just because, you know what I'm saying? Well, we'll catch them when we catch them, you know? But nevertheless, you know, the majority of the people, they go and they get the people that's the closest to them, all right? Because they're not going to go all extra far off to go find, you know, somebody that's a Florida native that's just stay in Florida. They're not going to go all the way over to Texas just to go, I want to go on a shooting spree. I'm going to go to Texas to go do it. No, they'll do it right here where they at, man. All right? But nevertheless, we have, how do I say, tribal warfare within the same so-called tribe. You know, the so-called black man fighting against the so-called black man, so-called Mexicans fighting against so-called Mexicans. Again, because these are the people that's closest to them. All right, and then you also going to have the hatred towards you and your brother, man. All right, but nevertheless, like we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7, these are the curses, you know what I'm saying, that's falling upon Esau, Edom now, you know, because, you know, dealing with Jake will get frustrated, you know what I'm saying, is frustrated with looking at his own people like, damn, why y'all my biggest enemy, man? I ain't never had my car broken into by no goddamn Edomites and no shit like that. My house ain't never got broken into by no Edomites, but it's y'all that's breaking into my shit, you know what I'm saying, because we all in the hood or whatever, whatnot, but nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, not to give Esau a pass because he might not break into your house, but he'll break into your country and steal all your goddamn resources. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather a motherfucker break into my house and steal my whole country. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, you know, just highlighting the curses as you can see them on our people. But now these are being transferred into the Edomites, man. Because look, man, these Edomites, they always in league with one another. You know what I'm saying? With these different nations. Look at these European countries, but they got what you call NATO and the EU. All right, well, really, the EU, you know, you got all these different European nations. That's pretty much which we're going to grab in the scriptures. They pretty much then gave over their power to be, or their sovereignty to basically be one actual unit, all right, the EU, all right? They have open borders, and I believe they have one currency. So it's basically one big-ass country. You basically don't have all those European countries no more, even though they still have their names, you know what I'm saying? And you can still so-called see borders on the map, but technically it's just one country, all right, the EU, all right? So you see how they band together, man. All right, then look at NATO, man. Basically, you got all Edomites in NATO, all right? And they using this NATO to basically to go against what was the USSR, all right? And you know, at that point in time, you know, at the end of World War II, you know, that was the situation that they was trying to get at, you know, trying to box Russia in, all right? But nevertheless, you know, Esau, you know what I'm saying, who don't have a problem with linking up with his own brothers or whatever, whatnot. Now you start to see that division with them, all right? And so what we're going into, all right, is like what you seen at the NATO summit last week and things like that. All the mockery is coming out from these other NATO, all these other European leaders and things like that, all right? They all mocking Donald Trump, you know, making gun gestures behind his back, you know what I'm saying, calling NATO brain dead, you know, President Macron calling NATO brain dead, you know, calling Trump, I forgot what they called him, but Trudeau called his ass, but then Trump wound up calling him Two-Face. So you starting to see bickering and backering with basically with brothers, you know what I'm saying? Not just brothers, but brothers in arms. Because, like, look, bro, well, America has, like, the biggest military, or they don't have the biggest military. They have, like, the third biggest military when it comes to soldiers. But they have the biggest reach with their military, all right? The American military has the biggest reach, all right? You know, they're in more places than anybody else, all right? Plus, they have the NATO military, all right? So, like, when you hear a lot of the times about, oh, they got like 700 bases around the world, you know what I'm saying? That's really talking about NATO. Now, America got like 700 to 800, probably, I think like 900 bases around the world, you know what I'm saying? America alone, then NATO. But nevertheless, you know, NATO is they brothers in arms. They all Edomites, but nevertheless, they all put, gave their power over unto basically the beast, which is NATO, all right, to fulfill their power, which we're going to grab all of this in the scriptures. But nevertheless, they didn't band it together, and they're going to subdue the whole earth by linking up together, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this is where they at now. They're ruling over all these other countries, all these other nations, as far as like Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, and Ham, and all this, because wow, you got this band of Edomites that's together, and they all on one accord with just pure domination and putting everybody in subjugation. All right, but now you're starting to see this here divide, man. Like they're trying to go into Iran, all right, and what was it? The nuclear agreement with Iran that Barack Obama signed, but then Donald Trump ripped it up. All right, that actually put a divide between America and NATO, man. All right, because he's talking some, look, if anybody start fucking with Iran, all right, we're gonna put sanctions on y'all. Even NATO members, y'all gonna get sanctioned too if y'all start dealing with them. All right. Anybody want to buy the S-400? Which Russia is an Edomite. They Edomites as well too, but the Most High is real cold, man. Like the scriptures say, if Satan be divided amongst himself, his kingdom can't stand. All right. So look, man, the Most High cold. He gonna use Satan, which is the Edomites. All right. Satan via Russia. Those are Edomites. They the damn devils too. All right. We ain't on Russia's side, even though you may hear us talk about, oh, Russia finna wax that ass. But Russia, they still the damn, they the devil anyway too. They Edomites, and they gonna wind up being destroyed too. But nevertheless, those devils, the Russians, all right, they devils too, because they Edomites, all right. They gonna wind up destroying with a conglomeration of nations, even though, and even with NATO, all right, they're gonna wind up destroying America, which is Satan as well too. Like when you go over to those Middle Eastern countries, right, like Iran and stuff like that, they call America and Israel the big Satan and the little Satan, all right. So again, you're gonna have Russia, who is the damn devil, Satan, all right, who's gonna use these missiles called, they got what they call a Siramat 1 and a Siramat 2, which NATO nicknamed Satan 1 and Satan 2. All right, those are like two of their biggest thermonuclear missiles, all right, or vehicles that transport the missiles. All right, they're going to use the Satan 1 and Satan 2 to destroy the big Satan and the little Satan, man. All right, so nevertheless, you see these brothers, they're going to be going at odds in the end all be all. But nevertheless, right now, America has allies. They're other brothers, man. But you starting to see the divide between them as well, too. So now, NATO's purpose was to keep Russia back, all right? And then they was being basically headed by America. But now you're starting to see that divide. And now the NATO members, let me put it this way. The EU members, all right, the European countries over there, they want to side with Russia, all right? Because like the scriptures say, Europe is that bottomless pit. They don't really have no resources over there, man. They have to import a lot of things over there. So one of the things that's going on over there, like with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is the reason that they over there battling it out in Syria, all right, is because of the fact that they want to run a pipeline through Syria and certain things like that. So, the black rule is, whoever, they got the golden rule, whoever controls the gold rules, but black gold, whoever controls the black gold, they rule, So they trying to get this here oil to run it through their own territory so they can tax it. So America wanted it to be able to run through Syria and so on and so forth, and be able to tax all of that, but Russia's like, nah, we're going to run it through so on and so forth, and they wound up selling, like Germany, I believe, get like 80% of their, what do you call, I think it's like LRN or something like that, natural gas, basically, you know what I'm saying? They getting like gas, natural gas, they get a lot of that from like Russia and stuff like that, but America want to cut Russia out, and they the ones want to be getting the money up off of it, just like with the F-35, man. All right, and the S-400 versus the Patriot system. If these nations start buying, we're not going to get on the differences between the S-400 and F-35, but if these nations start buying arms from Russia, America ain't making no money off of that, all right? Because when they got NATO and all these different people buying weapons and planes, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northern Group, what's that other company name? But nevertheless, these are all American companies, man. General Electric. These are all American companies, all right? So America make money off of that even when they allies buy from them. But wait, they're now seeing that these benefits, it's not really benefiting them. So like, for instance, with the F-35, man, that's an expensive-ass plane, all right? And plus, the plane is garbage. It's got like over 900-something faults with that plane, all right? They can't get the plane to pretty much function properly like they say it will on paper, all right? So Germany and France want to create their own plane. All right, they want to do a joint venture to create their own plane. America won't let them. This is creating a divide. They also want to get oil from over there. Like Germany want to get oil from Russia, and build a Nord Stream 2 pipeline, but America don't want to allow that, you know. But this is causing like places like Germany to have to buy oil at a higher price and a cheaper quality of the oil, you know. So they don't like any of these things, all right. But nevertheless, this is all causing divides, you know. Now they also talking about like I said, the nuclear agreement with Iran or whatever, whatnot, the S-400, F-35 with Turkey, all right, the natural gas to like Germany, the planes from Germany and France. All these different things are putting divides between America and their allies, all right? So you start to see this in prophecy come to pass. Deuteronomy 28 in verse 54. So the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, all right? So you starting to see these things happen, man. All right, these Edomites, you know, they about to lose their whole world dominance, hegemony, because they bickering in the background with each other, man. All right, this is like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of any of these old drug dealer movies, like, I guess Scarface, right? You know what I'm saying? You see how let's just say Scarface would have just rode off into the sunset, super rich or whatever, whatnot, but he just decided to kill his boy at the end, you know what I'm saying? His number one hitman or whatever, whatnot, and everything just went downhill from there. You'd be like, yo, you caused your own demise, man. This is what you see starting to happen right now, all right? So it's continuing on. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother and towards the wife of his bosom and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, all right? And you also seeing this here divide, man. A lot of these Edomites are having divorces now, man. These Edomite women are leaving their Edomite husbands and so on and so forth, man. All right, also their children, you know, they go on these massive killing sprees or whatever, whatnot, you know, predominantly on other Edomites, man. You know, the majority of these mass shootings, this is why they don't cover them a whole lot, because they just killing each other. They go into the schools and shoot up, you know, their own classmates and stuff like that, man. All right. So from here, I'm going to go to, let me see where I want to go from here. Well, let's just get to, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and verse 40. All right, so just as a backdrop of this is basically going into Nebuchadnezzar's dream. All right, Nebuchadnezzar had this here dream, and you can look this up on Google, right? Go to Google search and just type in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and you'll see this image of this big ass statue, which this is what he wound up having his dream about. All right, now with that statue is basically a timeline, right? It's telling you basically the world, how you say it, the kingdoms that will rule the world, more or less to say, you know what I'm saying? So basically, you know, you're not going to count the Egyptians, because this happened after the Egyptians ruled, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, because they was like a world dominating power before then, and also Nimrod with Babel before that. But that was all beforehand. So at this point in time, you have the Assyrians and Babylon, all right, being the head. Then you had Medo-Persia, all right. Then you had basically Greece and Rome, all right. But nevertheless, you know, and then Rome was split into two, all right. So we're going to get into that where it's going to talk about the legs and the feet, all right. So this is Daniel 2 and 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, as iron that breaketh all these, it shall break in piece and bruise. All right. So this here fourth kingdom is talking about the Roman Empire. All right. Now, I believe in it's the book of Revelation. All right, where they talk about well, we're gonna kind of touch on that. Where they, you know, in Revelation, where they talk about this beast that come out of the sea with the 10 heads and the 10 crowns, so on and so forth. You know, people would think that's an actual beast, but it's talking about, well, they give me the breakdown right here. It's talking about kingdoms, all right? But nevertheless, you know, they said that it had a wound, a deadly wound to his head, and it was healed, all right? So what that's talking about is the Roman Empire basically, you know, like right now, we don't have a Roman Empire no more. You know, if you go and look up on Google Images, the Roman Empire, you will see a huge-ass map of their territory. And you type in another search, and you just type in Rome. Rome is like a small-ass city in Italy now, all right? So the Roman Empire, all right, is basically, it had been collapsed, all right? So it's basically no more. But before that, you had a split, all right? You had the Ottoman Empire and the Byzantine Empire, all right? Jake was ruling over there in the Byzantine Empire, where Esau was ruling in the Ottoman Empire, all right? Going into what, the 1,000 years, you know, where they would Satan would be cast into that great pit, all right? This is going into the Dark Ages. This is when Jake was over there ruling, all right? Right before the Renaissance, before they had that rebirth, all right? Before he came out, was loose for the 1,000 years, right? So this is going into basically the Roman Empire. Now, the Roman Empire with a deadly wound, had a deadly wound to his head and it did live, is talking about basically, again, it collapsed all the way, all right, to where, like you see it now, all right, it's just a small city, all right, to basically being rebirthed, all right, because all those same people came back. And what you see now is basically, you know, the headquarters of it all is basically America, all right. And then when you look at like NATO and the EU, all right, or basically just the EU, because you have some countries like Turkey, all right, that's in NATO, that's not a part of the EU. America also is in NATO and it's not part of the EU, but nevertheless, those European nations, all right, basically all make up the same people that was in the Roman Empire. These are the same people, all right. These are all Edomites, all right. So this is what it's talking about, this fourth kingdom. But you also have to understand that this here kingdom, all right, like I said, the scriptures say it had a deadly wound to his head, will wind up dying, and it will come back. So it was the Roman Empire. This is the rebirth of the Roman Empire right now. This is why, they got like Roman numerals here, Roman columns here, the Colosseums, everything, the Senate here, everything that the Roman Empire had. This is the same thing you have over here now. Same way they had that vast military and so on and so forth. You had the same thing now, all right? Verse 41, and whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes of part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. All right, so let me keep reading verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. All right, so you're going to have, some of these Edomite nations, you know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, America versus Germany, man. All right, now Germany is not even really allowed to have a huge-ass military after the whole World War II situation. All right, and their economy is pretty much nowhere in comparison to America's economy, man. All right, nowhere in comparison. So nevertheless, you see, part of it is strong and part of it is weak, man. All right, America's military is a lot more. When you go to NATO, what Donald Trump is tripping about is the fact that they pay, 75% of the NATO budget, whereas all the other nations in there make up the rest of it, But nevertheless, America also being the head, all right, like we'll grab it in the book of Revelations. That's the whore that's riding upon the beast, all right? That's the head of this whole situation. So to give you an analogy of that, the beast, all right, would be like a horse. The whore would be the rider. Or to give it to you in a modern day sense, the beast, NATO and the EU, would be the car, and the whore would be the driver of the car, all right? So the driver of the car is directing the car wherever the car is going to go. The car's not going to go, down a block by itself. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be started up and guided wherever it need to be, driven to wherever it need to be driven to. All right. So this is how America, being the whore, is guiding and driving the beast, which is NATO. All right. Or the EU, NATO and the EU. All right. So continuing on, verse 43, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in peace and consume all these kingdoms. It shall stand forever. All right. So basically, what that's going into is letting you know it's at the end all be all. All right, this is the revived Roman Empire. This is the kingdom that's in position right now before Yahushua returns. This is going to be the kingdom he takes out. But nevertheless, it's going into it how they're going to be partly strong, partly weak. There's going to be a divide there, man. They're not going to really cleave to one another, man. All right, they're not gonna be stuck together like like glue, man. They pretty much like oil and water, man. They're gonna you can mix them. You can put oil, half of a glass full of oil, half of it full of water. It'll separate, but you can take it and shake it up real hard. It'll mix a little bit, but then once it's settled and everything's settled, it's gonna just separate again. And that's basically the analogy that was given here about the iron and the miry clay, man. All right, yeah, you can mix them together, but they're not gonna really stay mixed together, man. They're going to be on one accord here and there, but then eventually they're going to want to start to separate, all right? So we're going to go from there to, did I want to grab anything else before I close? Yeah, if anything else pop up to me, I'll grab that as well, too. This is Revelation chapter 17. All right, I'm going to just start at the top real quick. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked to me, saying unto me, come hither, and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore which sitteth upon many waters. All right. Let me jump down to verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So when it's talking about this great whore sitting on many waters, it's not talking about the Roman, it's not really talking about the Roman Empire, because again, this is the revived Roman Empire, all right? What it's talking about, like it just broke down, sitting on these 7 waters, is Babylon. America is basically sitting over top of all these other nations, man. All right, because it just told you that the waters are the people's tongues and nations, man. All right, and America's the one that's ruling over top of all these other nations, man. You don't see France or Germany. It's like, look, we want to go over here and invade this country, and we need, because they have in the NATO pact, if one of them go to war, you attack one of them, They all coming to their aid, you know. But you don't see France or Germany or none of these other countries that's in NATO or the EU going out to go start plundering and calling America. You know, you ain't never seen that in the news. Like, well, France started a war, we got to go over there and back them up. No, it's always the other way around. Like when America invaded Iraq, man, I believe it was like 38 different countries over there bombing in Iraq, man, at one time, man. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, continuing on, jumping down to verse... Well, let me just start at verse 9. And here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads... Well, let me start at verse 7. And the angel said unto me, wherefore did thou marvel? So I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast which carried her, which had 7 heads and 10 horns. All right. So again, you starting to see about the 10 toes, right? Going into the statue, just the same breakdown. You know, they just reiterating it a little different. All right. The beast which thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. All right. Because these are the Edomites. Again, they fell in what they call the dark ages. All right. But then they had the rebirth. All right. The Renaissance era coming back. All right. Then they came up out of that bottomless pit. All right. And go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose name was not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world when they behold the beast that was and is not and is yet. All right. Because at this point in time, you know what I'm saying? America was nowhere to be found. But America is the revival of the Roman Empire. All right. It's the head of the Roman Empire being revived. All those countries, man. All of NATO and the EU, you know, well, basically the EU, you know what I'm saying? None of those countries was, you know, they all kind of fell at one point in time, but then they all came back, man. All right. And it says, let me jump down. Verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. All right. Giving you the breakdown of what the 10 toes are in the statue in Daniel chapter 2. All right. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. All right. So at that point in time, you didn't have like what you would call today, like Germany, France, so on and so forth. You know, and of course they all wind up having their fall. Verse 13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength over unto the beast. All right, so this is what you see happen when they created basically the EU. But it started, I believe, with the League of NATO and the EU is like the third wave of it. But they had something else. I forgot what it's called. It was like the League of Nations. Then you had like NATO. All right, but nevertheless, this is what you see going on, like with NATO. You know, they wind up giving their mind and their military might over onto this here one system, or the EU. You know, that's pretty much all political situations going on. All right, with NATO is more or less like a militarily situation that's going on. All right, but nevertheless, all these sovereign nations gave up their sovereignty. All right, and in their own will and their own agenda to be a part of this one conglomeration, or this one agenda. All right, let me stop there real quick because I knew I had a precept I was going to grab. Obadiah 1:7. All right, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. And this is what you see going on right now. NATO and the EU, the brothers, you know what I'm saying, these Edomite brothers, they starting to have beef between one another, man. All right. It says, they that deceived thee, Salah, all the men of thy confederacy that brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. All right. So it says, they that eat thy bread, all right, the bread is the resources, the new, you know, if you feed a person, you building them up, giving them vitamins and nutrients and all the things that they need to be healthy, right? Same way with you know, in this scenario, you know, we're going to give you all the weapons, the money, the funding, the backup, whatever, the security that you need to thrive and to help out this here one situation, all right? So they all wind up giving their power over unto the beast, but guess what? The scriptures say, Obadiah 1:7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, and they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. So these Edomites over here in America, they don't even realize they're being brought into a trick bag, man. This is the end all be all for him. Trump's over here mocking these people, whatever, whatnot, but he don't realize that's the end all be. That's his demise, man. That's the demise of America, man, and it's all prophesied in the scriptures. All right. So let's go back to Revelation 17 and 13. These have one mind and shall give their power and their strength unto the beast. All right, so we were just reading all the men that was a confederacy with these American Edomites. All right, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. All right, like you can read in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 13 about how, basically they're going to be fighting each other in World War III. But in the midst of all that, it's going to be realm against realm, Basically, the Lord's going to come back and fight against these people, man. And in the middle of this here war, they're going to turn from fighting each other to fight against the Lord, man. All right, but they're going to be decimated, all right? You can listen to Ronald Reagan with the Star Wars program speech and so on and so forth, man. All right? So it says, verse 14, these shall make war with the Lamb. NATO, the EU, and America, they're going to want to make these Edomites, they're going to make war with Yahushua when he come back. And the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. All right? Verse 15, and he said unto me, the water which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So NATO and the EU, all right, is basically going to wind up hating the whore. They're the beast. They're going to wind up hating the whore, which is America, right? It says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And right now you're starting to see that hatred being built up between these other NATO members and the EU members against Donald Trump in America, man. Donald Trump wound up canceling out the NATO summit, the last little leg of that, and came home early. And just depressed, man. He got the impeachment going on over here. All right, and over there, all his buddies is all turning their back on him. Everybody calling him dumb. So now, hey, man, you seeing your demise now, man. All right. But here it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Because ultimately, all these nations that have these nuclear weapons, these missiles and shit like that, they're gonna all be turned in and shot on America, man. All right. So also, you see this here snare being laid for Esau with NATO and the EU, because they still in partners with one another. All right. Also, like with Turkey, right? Yeah, they're in conglomeration in NATO with America, but all of a sudden they get this S-400, which makes the damn F-35 obsolete, man. All right. So you're starting to see all these things starting to happen, man, where Esau is becoming divided amongst his own self, man. What the scriptures say, if Satan be divided amongst himself, his kingdom can't stand. All right. A house divided amongst itself can't stand, man. All right. Verse 17. For the Most High put it in their heart to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the word of the Most High shall be fulfilled. This is why you had the formation of the EU and NATO, because why? The Most High put it inside of them to make this here conglomeration of nations, all right, and come together to deceive Esau, bring him out, because he got his squad with him the whole time. But now all of a sudden the squad finna step back and let you get your ass whooped, man. They're going to be partaking into that, man. All right. Verse 18. And a woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right. And that what great city reigneth over all the kings of the earth? It's America, man. America's the main one putting sanctions on everybody else, man. Ain't nobody really putting sanctions on America like that, man. Ain't nobody else invading nobody else's country, bombing them to hell and back, man. Only America can do that without any kind of retaliation, man. All right. So this is what it's talking about with Babylon the Great, man. The whore that's riding upon the beast the whore is talking about America, man. All right. And the beast is talking about NATO and the EU. All right, and they ain't in conglomeration with one another, but what do you start to see happen now? That divide being split between them on all different levels, between the Brexit, all right, economics, trying to raise up more money for the NATO budget, all right? You see them talking trash behind Trump back, Trump tweeting about them, talking trash about them, all right? You seeing all these different things, the rest of NATO and the EU want to actually be friends with Russia, but America like, hell no. Nah. You see the nuclear agreement with Iran. All these things are causing divides between Esau and Edom, man. This is that trick bag that the Most High has got his ass in, but the pride of his heart has deceived him, man. He's going to keep pushing it till his ass be destroyed, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying into the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for y'all. I can push this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong and shalom.